Hey, it's Ralph and Marcus on the Good Sugar podcast. If you wanted to know stuff about your skin and how to make it look better, well, this is the episode you definitely want to listen to.
And health in general, not just...
And health in general, of course. Yeah. It is the Good Sugar podcast. I am Ralph Sutton. Marcus Antebbe, fresh from giving a lecture at some auditorium. How did the lecture go?
No, I just clean up after the lectures.
That's fine.
The lectures now. So,
by the way, this is going to be an interesting conversation because both of us, Marcus, you're a year older than me, almost exactly. And I've noticed for the first time in the past couple of years, I'm seeing wrinkles around my eyes. I'm seeing a little bit of sagging in my face.
Thank God.
I've been looking into ways to try to improve my skin. And you see it. It's definitely been a viral year on TikTok, on Instagram, on all these hacks and biohacking and collagen and ways to train and things to do to make you look 5 years younger. Your biological age.
It's a damn shame how we confuse each other, human beings. We should all be just getting along, telling the truth to each other. This guy that we're about to have on, from what I see, he's really aligned with what we talk about here on the show.
All right, so let's do it right now. All right, Marcus, we talked about him enough. Let me give this guy the right introduction. He's known as America's holistic plastic surgeon, nationally recognized, board-certified surgeon, best-selling books, The Age Fix. He has In Stitches, Playing God. The new book is called Younger for Life. He's been on Good Morning America, CBS's The Doctors. He has 2.9 million subscribers to his YouTube, 10 million followers on TikTok, 3 million on his Instagram. It is Dr. Anthony Youn. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
That is crazy. What a presence you have built for yourself online. It is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really started after the pandemic. I think a lot of people were just looking for fun, lighthearted entertainment, and somehow you got it from a plastic surgeon of all people. So that's kind of when everything exploded for me.
Is that really what happened? It was during the pandemic you just started? Because I watched a lot of the videos you put up where people ask questions and you answer them, and you try to make it a little more lighthearted, and it took off during the pandemic.
Yeah, so I did a lot of TV before that. I did a lot with Rachel Ray and The Doctors and all these shows. And then, like an actor who got older and was like, where'd all the parts go? I noticed that they were going with younger, better-looking doctors than me. And so many years ago, I pivoted towards social media. I started with Facebook and then went eventually to Instagram. But it wasn't really until a pandemic hit where I decided, geez, my office is closed for 2.5 months. I've got nothing to do. I don't have anything to sell. I'm just going to have fun with it. And that's when everything exploded.
Right, which leads me to that first question. Like, what does that actually mean, autojuvenation?
So autojuvenation is the fact that our bodies contain immense regenerative abilities to turn back the clock naturally. But we have to unlock those abilities by focusing on 5 main things. It's what you eat, when you eat, nutritional supplements, skincare, and non-invasive treatments. And the book is all about how you can focus on these 5 things. And if you do, I think the vast majority of people can turn back the clock. They can look 5, 10 years younger. They can have great energy. And they can do all this without going under the knife or even the needle.
What was the 5th one again?
The 5th one would be non-invasive treatments. So treatments like red light therapy.
I do that.
Like at-home dermaplaning, things like that.
Is there a brand? I don't know if you endorse brands, but when you look at the skincare aisle, especially, much worse for women, but for men, and you try to cull through the nonsense, it's daunting, and also confusing. you can't trust Amazon reviews. You can't, it's so hard to figure out what actually is. And not only that, I'm sorry, because this is a topic near and dear to me because I'm 54. So I've been trying to do things more to keep myself. I've heard something called skin cycling where you try different things each night before you go to bed. Of course, you have to moisturize, but for all I know, I'm putting on the worst shit in the world on my skin. I don't know the right answer.
So I'll tell you my journey real briefly is that, as a plastic surgeon, I wasn't trained anything in skincare. But once you finish and you start a practice, you sell it because patients want to buy it. And so I started selling what other doctors sold. And I found that patients were pretty happy. They're very simple regimens. They're actually geared towards plastic surgeons. Like these skincare companies sell their products to plastic surgeons, make it very simple because they know we don't know much about skincare. Okay. But for years, I harbored the secret that even though my patients were using it and they were looking better, I couldn't put on my skin at all. And if I put on my skin, I'd react, I'd get hives and react to it. And so then it wasn't until I started using clean products, natural products, I could actually put these creams and these lotions on my face and I would feel fine. But the problem with those products is that there was nothing in it that was actually active, that was actually going to help my skin look younger and turn back the clock. And so I actually started my own skincare line called Youn Beauty. And the idea was, let's combine natural and active ingredients with actually medically proven compounds like vitamin C, like retinol, like kojic acid, like bakuchiol, and create a line that people can tolerate, but also will actually work to turn back the clock. And so that's what I use. And one of the things that's in my book is a very simple skincare routine that I recommend for everybody. And so for guys, this is absolutely perfect. And if you do this, we call it the 2 minutes, 5 years younger skincare routine. It takes 2 minutes a day. After 2 months, we tested people, they look upwards of 5 years younger. Okay, so you start off every morning, you cleanse your skin with a cleanser appropriate for your skin type. If you've got oily skin, you want to go with a more foaming cleanser. If you've got dry or sensitive skin, look for a more milky or hydrating cleanser. Second step is apply an antioxidant serum, ideally a vitamin C. Bonus if you want to add vitamin E to it because they're synergistic. And the idea behind antioxidants is that they protect your skin from oxidation or free radicals. This is basically pollution, it's ultra-processed foods, it's all the bad stuff in our environment that can attack our skin. Mm-hmm. So then you do the antioxidant, you do like the vitamin C serum, and then after that, use a sunscreen, at least SPF 30. That's all you have to do in the morning. Cleanse, vitamin C serum, sunscreen. In the evening, so important, you gotta wash your face. If you only wash your face once a day, make sure it's in the evening because you gotta get rid of the day's worth of dirt and grime and pollution and oil and all of that. Then you want to apply a retinol. Retinols are derivatives of vitamin A. If you were to ask plastic surgeons or dermatologists what one anti-aging ingredient, if you had to pick one, what would it be? Almost all of them would choose a retinol. So you start applying that every other night to every night, depending on how your skin tolerates it. And then if you want to apply moisturizer on top of it, you can, but you don't have to. So I live in Michigan. Right now it's cold here. It's real dry. I apply moisturizers now. But if I live, let's say, in Louisiana in the summertime, would I apply a moisturizer? You may not need to, okay? Because you've got natural moisture in your skin. That's all you have to do at night. Cleanse, retinol, moisturizer as needed. And then once or twice a week, depending on how sensitive your skin is, you want to exfoliate your skin. And you can do that with a gentle scrub, or you can do that with an alpha hydroxy acid peel. You know, for guys, something super simple is just get a gentle scrub that you can get, not that expensive at the drugstore. Use that once or twice a week, and you're exfoliating your skin. That's all you have to do. Literally 2 minutes a day. If you do that and you stick with that, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else.
Well, by the way, I do almost all that, and I do more. So maybe I'm overkilling. I use a toner every day as well, right? And I do the retinol, but I do the retinol in the morning and the evening.
So toners are optional. Some people like them. They help kind of set your skin. And if you want to use it, it's not going to be harmful unless it's got alcohol in it.
It doesn't.
But as long as it doesn't, then by all means, if you want to do it, but you don't have to. If you say, hey, I'm on a budget, do I need to use a toner? The answer is no. Retinol gets deactivated by the sunlight. So there's no point in putting it on in the morning. You can save your money. Go instead with the antioxidant serum instead in the morning, not the retinol. Use a retinol only at night.
Okay, I'm writing that down. Antioxidant serum right now.
Well, this is interesting.
Yeah. Vitamin C.
Is the retinol a natural derivative of a plant, or is it something that's synthesized now, laboratory lab stuff?
That's going to be more quote unquote lab stuff. If you are more on the natural side, then there is an option called bakuchiol. Bakuchiol is a plant-based alternative to retinol. There was a study that compared the two head to head and found very similar results as far as anti-aging of the skin. Bakuchiol comes from the bobchi plant, and this is actually a substance that's been used in Ayurveda and ancient Chinese medicine. So it's been used for hundreds of years. That's something that would be kind of more of a natural. Can
you spell that? Because I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, Bakuchiol. Bakuchiol. Bakuchiol.
That's a really interesting tip. And I'm curious, how does a topical solution become an antioxidant to a cell? Is it creating a barrier, or is it getting taken up by the cell?
It's going to be more of a barrier type of a thing. Is it possible some of it's going to be taken up by the cells? Yes, but at the same time, the skin itself acts as a barrier. It's the stratum corneum is the upper layer of skin that's the barrier function. And that's why it's important with antioxidants, not only to apply them to the surface of the skin, but to ingest them as well. I'm sure you hear your doctors tell you to eat your fruits and vegetables. One big reason why is because the actual color, the pigment in the fruits and vegetables are the antioxidants. Antioxidants fight free radicals or oxidation. And these are damaging molecules that can actually damage the DNA of your cells that our body is exposed to, especially in today's environment. We're exposed to pollution and cigarette smoke and automobile exhaust, ultra-processed foods. And so,
and oxygen itself.
Yeah,
right?
But I mean, oxygen, obviously you need that because that's obviously essential.
In other words,
for our metabolism.
When we think about antioxidants, like from a dietary perspective, just to be clear, you're prescribing that people eat fruit, which are the best source of an antioxidant comes from fruit, correct?
Well, in vegetables. So it's the actual color that's the important thing. It's the color that's the pigment is the actual antioxidant. So if you've got like a green vegetable, you get a different antioxidant than if you have, let's say, an orange, or if you have a red, a red apple.
Are they doing the same thing?
In general, they're doing the same thing, but they are different actual antioxidants. Okay, and so they are different varieties of the same thing. And so the belief is that by eating the rainbow of colorful fruits and vegetables, you're going to have a more variety of antioxidants. And the more different ones you have, potentially the more effects they can have on your body. Resveratrol, that's an antioxidant. That's from red wine. And a lot of people believe
from grapes.
Yep. And that's what people believe, that one reason why people believe that drinking red wine can be beneficial for you if it's in limited amounts, even for overall longevity. That is a certain type of antioxidant that we believe is good for longevity. Other types of antioxidants may not be quite as effective in that.
I have a bag of resveratrol from Bulgaria. I was doing a supplement, and I never got to use it, but it's still...
What a shady statement.
No, it's not. It's just a powder. Wait, I distracted myself with that.
I have so many questions, by the way, too. By the way,
so can I get a high degree of antioxidants from an animal protein source?
I don't think so. In general, that's not where you're going to get it from.
All right, I want your phone number on speed dial. I love you.
All right, so I have a couple of questions, okay? Because I've been very much looking into my skin routine. I'm getting older, as I said. So one thing that I was probably bamboozled to take, and I'm curious what you think of it. I'm looking it up right now. They just started taking it. It's called hyaluronic acid, right? Mm-hmm. And it has this thing called lycopene astaxanthin. It's supposed to apparently, like, what is it? Carrots have, what is it called? The thing
beta-carotene.
The carotene. This is supposed to be something that's like the other version of that's supposed to give you a glow from the inwards out. Is that nonsense?
So there's a couple of things to unpack here. So lycopene is basically it's an antioxidant, it's anti-inflammatory. It's found often in tomatoes. Tomatoes are filled with lycopene. And actually, if you cook your tomatoes, you actually get more lycopene than if you eat them fresh for some reason. So it's actually great for you. Hyaluronic acid is a naturally occurring moisturizer of the skin. So I'm not quite sure how that combination honestly works. Hyaluronic acid is also what we make our injectable fillers out of. So people get their lips plumped up. That's usually made of hyaluronic acid. And then there are moisturizers that you put on your skin that are really moisturizing that are made of hyaluronic acid. Okay. Lycopene is different. It's more like an antioxidant, so I'm not sure the connection there. Beta-carotene is what you have in carrots. And it is true that if you actually eat excessive amounts of beta-carotene, you can change the color of your skin.
Right.
And definitely it starts in the hands. Your palms actually start getting orange, and the whole skin can actually turn kind of an orangish color. And there's actually somebody on TikTok who eats carrots all the time, and you could see she's got this orange glow to her. There's nothing dangerous about this. It's called carotenemia. There's nothing dangerous about it, but it's just kind of an odd phenomenon.
Is there any truth that beta-carotene syndrome from eating carrots is caused by how detoxifying it is to the liver, that it pushes stuff out of the system? Or do you have any idea what causes that? I think
that it has anything to do with that. I don't know that we quite understand exactly why it does turn things orange. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't know that it has anything to do with the detoxifying aspect of it.
And is lycopene an amino acid, or is it just a separate compound altogether?
I think it's a separate compound. I'd have to look into it because I haven't thought about lycopene in a while.
Well, lycopene is and lutein. I remember lutein is from spinach, right? So I just had it in my head that those two together work more.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's like zeaxanthin is another one, and all of these are really anti-inflammatory type components that are usually found in fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask two more quick ones on this, because I wonder if I'm wasting my money. I take a collagen powder supplement. What do you feel about those? And then also the second one is I take an NMN powder that's also supposed to be good for your skin. What do you think about that?
So collagen actually is something that is proven. If you look into the science and you actually do a PubMed search or a Medline search, you'll find dozens of articles, scientific studies, and these are powerful studies, randomized placebo-controlled clinical trials that do show that taking a daily hydrolyzed collagen supplement can improve the collagen of your skin. We lose about 1% of the thickness of collagen in our skin every year. As we get older, women up to 2% once they go through menopause. And so it's really important to have sufficient amounts of protein in your diet. Collagen itself is a great way to help supplement that. And so I'm a big fan of collagen, but it has to be hydrolyzed collagen because hydrolyzing the collagen causes that large collagen protein to be broken down into amino acids and peptides, which are going to be much more bioabsorbable. NMN is going to be a little more controversial. There's NAD, and there are these kind of anti-aging, kind of longevity peptides and proteins and things that people are taking that right now are still kind of being studied. So there are biohackers. I'm not a biohacker, but I've got friends of mine who are that are on like the cutting edge of these types of supplements, and they'll take these as a way to potentially prolong their life. The problem with some of these supplements that I worry about, and I can't speak specifically for NMN because I haven't studied that in depth, is, when you look at longevity, the idea is that you want your cells to live longer. You want to reduce what's called senescence. And that's when cells can only divide so many times before they stop dividing. And it has to do with the telomeres and our chromosomes and things. Senescent cells are cells that have stopped dividing, and they basically just kind of sit there. Another name for those are zombie cells. And the idea behind some of these longevity supplements is, can you slow down this whole senescence process and make these cells continue to divide? Well, what are cancer cells? Cancer cells are cells that divide unnaturally, sometimes over aggressively. And so you always got to kind of temper, messing with our biology in that way with the concern of, are you going to cause any type of potential risk of cancer? And so that's what, for me, I'm not a biohacker. I'm friends with Dave Asprey and some of these biohacker guys, but I have concerns because you do have to, once again, make sure that there's no adverse effects with certain supplements.
I want to geek out. I want to geek out. Yeah, I love you because you got a lot of great insight and knowledge. And my field is, I'm in food and beverage. I have a chain of juice bars called Juice Press that I exited from in 2019 in New York, and now I have a new company. It's plant-based, and I concentrate a lot on. I concentrate on having enough knowledge, even as a layman, just to be able to talk about this stuff. Okay, so the first thing I would ask you is, do you know of a reliable source of collagen that's plant-based?
So not necessarily. There are quote unquote vegan collagen supplements, and I think that they're worthwhile. So unfortunately, there's no plant-based collagen source. It has to be animal-based, just by definition.
That's one for the home team. I got it. It. We had the other one was the antioxidants are from fruits and vegetables, collagen.
But there are vegan collagen sources that people will buy as supplements, and what they're usually composed of are the building blocks of collagen. So for example, some of them will be filled with vitamin C. Vitamin C, antioxidant, but it's also super important for the production of collagen. That's something that we learned way back in high school biology with scurvy, and the fact that these pirates and these people on ships would go out on ships, they'd pack it filled with fresh fruits and vegetables, but after several weeks out at sea or months, they run out, and then they start having skin problems because of scurvy.
They needed oranges. They figured out how to put oranges.
Lack of vitamin C. And so vitamin C basically super important for the production of collagen. So some of these vegan collagen supplements have vitamin C in them. They also are usually filled with protein. Collagen, once again, is a protein, and collagen is a large protein, and it's composed of various amino acids. And so if you do have those amino acids that are in the vegan collagen supplement, the belief is that by supplementing your body with those amino acids, combine that with stuff like vitamin C, that you're going to give your body those building blocks to create its own collagen. Now, I don't know of any studies that have shown that that actually does do that, but it does make sense that it would. And very interestingly, there are some scientists working on true vegan collagen made by bacterial sources.
Wow.
And that's not out yet, but that's something that would be very interesting.
Doesn't all this stuff break down when you keep reducing it down to bacteria before the earlier stages where it starts to become more, things on the atomic level, like breaking it? That's not really an important question.
So actually it is important, because one of the arguments against collagen is that it's such a large protein that how do you know your body's going to absorb it? Is it going to go straight through your system? And that's the whole idea of hydrolyzed collagen, because yes, you break that big collagen protein down into individual amino acids and peptides, which are a combination of smaller number of amino acids, as a way for your body to actually absorb it versus absorbing a big collagen protein that it's unlikely to do. That's why if you put collagen, let's say, in a cream and you put that on the surface of your skin, it's not going to do anything because it's way too big. It's not going to get through that stratum corneum, that outer skin layer, and get into your body.
In terms of vitamin C, do you have a preference towards like using
just rub oranges on your face?
No, are you into this lipospheric version of vitamin C that's seems to be like, the next wave of vitamin C versus just being, ascorbic acid or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that part of it. L-ascorbic acid is what we usually see. And I think the important parts with that, like I said, the delivery mechanism, I'm not too aware of what you're talking about.
You don't do a C vitamin in your lineup, in your supplement?
Not specifically. I mean, we do have it in our product, and we have L-ascorbic acid in our CE antioxidant serum.
Right.
But it's not necessarily in like a fatty vesicle. That I haven't heard of as a delivery mechanism.
I'm told by a lot of people that ascorbic acid, vitamin C, like when you're eating it or taking a vitamin, it's oftentimes hard on the stomach and you need a buffer like calcium. So the lipospheric people, there's actually a company called Lipospheric C. They have a lipospheric line, and I'm not knowledgeable on the technology, but they're saying that this gel is the most absorbable and it won't cause digestive issues. So again, it's another topic. Because
let me ask two other quick questions, because I'm the one a little bit more obsessed with the skin stuff, I guess, because I'm getting old and I'm single. For a while, because I do travel often and I try to wear sunscreen, but I was wearing what I guess is the worst type of sunscreen in the world, the spray-on shitty like copper tone. And one day I was with someone, they're like, "Oh my God, you can't wear it. It's like, it's all chemicals. It's so bad for you." And is there a sunscreen that you recommend that is not in that world? Because I use this natural one, but it doesn't feel great. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just curious.
So the issue, a couple of things. What the person was talking about is that there is a difference between chemical sunscreens and physical sun blocks. Physical sun blocks are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. And traditionally it's, when we grew up and you see lifeguards, that white paste on their nose, that type of thing. And they physically will block the rays of the sun from hitting your skin. The problem with that, and really natural, alternative medicine people love those types of sunblocks because they don't get absorbed into your bloodstream. But the problem with it is it's still kind of thick, and especially if you have darker skin, it can cause a whitish hue to your skin. So a lot of people don't like it. Chemical sunscreens are absorbed through your skin, and basically once the UV rays hit and penetrate the skin, they basically will absorb those rays chemically and prevent a damage to your DNA from these rays. But in order to do so, they have to actually be absorbed into your skin. And some of them have been found in the bloodstream. Oxybenzone is the most common one. And now there are some studies that do show that oxybenzone, the most common sunscreen ingredient out there, may be considered a hormone disruptor. Essentially that it may mimic estrogen or other hormones in the body because of its unique chemical structure. Now, I don't know if that's ever been proven, but that's a concern. There's also concern that it can damage the coral reefs. And so because of that, there's a lot of people who are very anti-sunscreen, chemical sunscreens. For me, I try to encourage people then stay away from oxybenzone and octinoxate. Those are the two most common chemical sunscreens that are thought to be potential endocrine disruptors. But there are other chemical sunscreens I feel are perfectly safe. Avobenzone and Mexoryl XL have never been shown to mimic hormones in the body, as far as I understand. So what I recommend in general is that if you are Caucasian and you want to wear sunscreen every day, ideally go for the mineral-based if you can. If it's too heavy on the face, then go with the chemical-based, just avoid oxybenzoate octinoxate. For children, because they're developing, you want to apply ideally the mineral-based sunblock because you don't want it to absorb into their body. Right. Worst thing you can do is take the oxybenzone spray it into their face or in their body, because now they're also breathing those particles into their developing lungs. Yeah. And you don't want that either. Now, finally, the other thing to keep in mind, which is really interesting, is that the FDA has not approved a new sunscreen in like a decade or something like that. And there are other countries like South Korea, where my parents are from, that have a variety of really good sunscreens. Those are ones that we're now testing because the fact is that there are people who say, geez, I use this sunscreen from Korea, and it's just like I put on a regular moisturizer. I don't even think about it for the rest of the day. It's just there. Unlike the ones that we have, where you always know it's on your skin.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. Well, we want sunscreens to do impossible things, right? They got to last all day. Don't
waterproof. Don't forget they got to be waterproof.
Yeah. I would say a good rule of thumb, and please confirm, is try to avoid anything with the word ox in it or the word ben. Ox or ben in a substance is probably not going to be good.
Although avobenzone is okay.
It's got the BENZ. Okay. It's scary. Benz.
How about Ben Stiller? I have no problem with Ben Stiller.
There are a couple of websites you can go to. There is one called, there's an app called Think Dirty. It's not a dirty app, but it's basically what you can do if you're at the store and you're not sure how quote unquote clean a beauty product is. You can actually, it has a UPC reader, and you can see, and it will give you like a grade for a lot of these.
Oh, really? I'm going to install that right now. Think Dirty.
There's the environmental working group.
Let's go to let's talk about your new book. What I'm curious is, how much of it do you actually talk about the diet? How much of I would say that you're going back to your list of 5 things. Is the book going to cover these 5 things in depth in this new book that you have?
Yes. Yeah. Diet actually is the first part of it, and is probably a third of the book. It's a huge part of it. And the way I describe really diet and how important it is, it's like the whole anti-aging process is like you're building a house. And the diet is like the foundation of the house. Really, what you eat has the biggest impact on how quickly you age, more than anything really probably that we do, other than maybe sleeping. And so really it's eating a good, healthy diet. And I go into real detail. It's more than just antioxidants. It's about eating the right sources of protein. It's about eating anti-inflammatory fats. It's about adding fermented foods to your diet.
And you're an intermittent fasting fan as well, right?
Yeah. So intermittent fasting is the when to eat part of it. And intermittent fasting can stimulate a process called autophagy. Autophagy is intracellular renewal. And so by taking time off, 12 hours at least, even up to 16, where you're not eating, you're going to stimulate an intracellular recycling process that can actually help to de-age your body naturally. And so that's something I definitely recommend.
So in autophagy, was that a terminology that was coined by Pavel Arolo? You know better than me. Is that now considered a scientific term, or is it still on the fringe?
No, it is definitely a scientific term. So it really means self-eating, and it's been used a lot now. And I think that traditional medicine is finally catching up to these types of concepts. And it's kind of this idea of, in general, of hormesis. It's putting your body into a small amount of acute stress can actually be very good for it, or for longevity. I look at that with even our skincare treatments. We do laser treatments, we do microneedling, these things where we traumatize our skin to a small amount, and it actually ends up being tighter and more youthful afterwards. All these people now, they're doing cold plunges. It's the same idea of hormesis, putting your body under small amounts of stress, of acute stress, can actually be really good for it.
I've been living the right lifestyle along. I've been under stress since I was 2.
Chronic stress is different, though. Chronic stress is a whole manageable.
But going back to this autophagy as a diet thing, I'm sure then you're very aware of the concepts of 72-hour water fast and how. And there's a guy that won a Pulitzer Prize for that in Japan, I think. You may know better than me. No, not a Pulitzer. What do you win when you get the Nobel?
Nobel.
Yeah. There's a guy that won a Nobel Prize that showed that in 72 hours, your body auto-digests all necrotic cells, dying cells, nasty material to the point where it even wipes out your white blood cell count, and then your stem cells kick in and produce a whole new white blood cell count. And the University of Southern California, I've mentioned this on the show before, did a similar study with that. Are you in line with any of that stuff?
I think that for me, my followers are not, it's a lot to ask somebody to do a 72-hour fast, or I have friends that do a 5-day water fast and stuff like that. And I think for a small percentage of people, that is realistic for them. But I think for the majority of people who are constantly snacking all day, who don't go for periods of time without eating, that's a lot to ask. And so really for me, what I try to do is I focus on what is immediately available and doable for people. And so what I've seen is that even doing as little as 12 hours where you're not eating food, where you're still drinking liquids and stuff like that, is short enough that is long enough that you can start getting some of that autophagy process going. In my book, I have a 21-day jumpstart where we start people it's 21 days. The first week is just cleaning up your diet, doing skincare, taking some very basic supplements. And then weeks 2 and 3, we put in 16-hour fasts, intermittent fasts, 2 days a week for each of those. So just
it's what I'm doing right now. It's so funny. I do Wednesdays and Fridays where I don't eat until 7 p.m.
Yeah. And so I think that that's something that's much more doable for people. And if you're doing, a good 16-hour fast, I mean, I think that that's sufficient for most people. And yeah, if you become, seeing that, wow, that does really great for me, I want to do a 72-hour fast, then by all means do that. But I think for the 98% of the population, it's just too painful. Yeah,
I would never think that would be a mainstream thing. I think first of all, you have to do those under supervision, and they're more. I think the Nobel that he won was related to studies that were done on before starting people that were going on chemotherapy or radiation, and afterwards to help their immune system along, and certainly under supervision, because you really go into the deep end of the pool psychologically, in 3 days. Like a person really might not handle it and freak out. So I don't think that's mainstream
There
at all.
are interesting studies being done where and I was listening to a talk by a doctor who was doing these, where you take somebody with cancer and then you treat them with chemotherapy alone, you treat them in fasting alone, and you treat them with fasting and chemotherapy. And the people who fasted had similar results as the chemo, but when you combine the two, the results were much better. But these are still things, unfortunately, that aren't mainstream yet. And it's hard because, once again, I mean, eating is one of the great pleasures of life. Yeah. And to try to take that away, I mean, most of the studies that I've seen look at calorie restriction as a way to prolong your life. But I mean, who wants to calorie restrict?
It's temporary.
Let me just say this, because I always say I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I don't gamble. Like my one vice is I love food.
One vice, he's a serial killer.
Yeah, that's too.
On the
also,
weekend.
by the way, you are an advocate, because I just bought it not that long ago and I do it every day for 10 minutes. You do believe in red light therapy.
Oh, red light therapy is great. Yeah, if there's one easy thing that most people can do at home, it would be red light therapy. There's handheld devices that I think are not very practical.
I have the mask. I bought
the mask. Is I think a great way to go.
Is that the same thing as infrared, or is that a different spectrum?
Infrared's a little bit different than red light. So like an infrared sauna, that's going to be more detox. That those rays go deeper into your body. Red light's going to be more superficial for superficial aging of the skin. And then there's some that combine both.
Is it literally just red light, or is there something special about that source of light?
It depends on, I think, on the power of the light. You can't just take like a red light bulb or something and assume it's going to do the same thing. But I can't tell you the specifics of like, okay, it has to be this many nanometers. But there is actually a specific wavelength for red light. I think it's like around technically 600 to 620. And then infrared's like in the 800s. But are there lights that could be red that are not in that range? It's possible. I can't tell you for sure, not being a physicist.
You're a genius. I got to ask you, why does the waveform collapse when we observe it or monitor it?
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
That's a good one. And then the other one is how come classical physics break down at 10 to the minus 33 centimeters, 10 to the minus 45 seconds. If you have an answer for that, please tell us right here. This will be a groundbreaking situation.
No, but I can tell you about Botox, I guess.
Oh, I love that. No,
let me ask you this.
We're fighting over, because you're great. You have so much knowledge. I'd love to switch for 1 second to your social media presence, because I think it's great. I think you're very entertaining. You're very informative. And I think you're putting really positive things that are really healthy. You. Telling people to eat more fruits and vegetables. Obviously, that's a big thing. The thing that strikes me, though, about the whole conversation is yes, okay, I understand that, a lot of people, 98% of the population is not going to have a restrictive diet. They're not going to reduce everything down to, doing juice cleanses for 30 days. A lot of the stuff that I feel like we're skimming the surface on, obviously there's always a health benefit, but is it leaning too much on the superficiality of our vanity? Mm-hmm. And so perhaps the data can be a little bit tainted, because, we're more interested in taking good care of our skin using collagen, but could collagen also at the same time help cancer to divide and multiply, because it is increasing the amount of protein? So I ask you that in a humble way, thinking like, is there too much concentration on the vanity aspect of all this stuff?
So I think that, interestingly, when you look at what increases longevity and overall health, in general, they're going to be very similar principles of what's going to keep your skin looking younger. And that's one of the things people have said. I've read your book, and some of the things that you're recommending are things that I've read before, but I didn't look at that from the sense of skin. So that's, I guess, the way I would look at it. I think also it's important to realize that for some people, it comes down to what is your motivation. And I get patients who come into my office and we talk to them about their health habits, and they're like, well, I've been smoking a pack a day for the last 20 years. And I say, well, did you quit when you had a baby? No, and I go, you've got diabetes. Would you quit? No. And I go, but you can't have a facelift unless you're off for a month. Well, then I'll quit. There are these people who vanity is it, and if that's for me a way that I can get them to be healthier as a motivation, then by all means I'll do that if that works for them.
I'd also argue if you feel better
motivation.
If you feel better looking at yourself looking younger, that emotion of feeling good has to have a positive influence on your body.
And there are actually studies where they've looked at twins, and the younger looking of two twins typically lives longer than the older looking one. Now, is that they look older because they live a harder life, or is it that for some reason looking younger makes you feel better about yourself? And it's probably a combination of factors, probably multifactorial.
Absolutely, the way the thoughts you keep play a tremendous role on your health and wellness. But would you recommend collagen to a person who has an autoimmune illness or is dealing with cancer, or is this strictly for healthy people?
In general, because it's a natural substance that people eat. Now, there's arguments, if you're plant-based, there are arguments that, well, eating meat is going to be unhealthy for you. And that's a whole other deal. And I admire my plant-based colleagues. I went plant-based for a while. But my concern is I don't know that everybody can thrive on a plant-based diet, because I think if you do, you have to be very, very intelligent and educated about it. Right. I think it's very easy for people to go plant-based and to eat a very unhealthy plant-based diet, thinking that they're being healthy, but they're missing, they're not getting enough protein, they're getting too many carbs, too much sugar, and that type of a thing. And I do think that's one reason why you see some people go plant-based for a while and feel good initially, because a lot of them initially will clean up their diet. But then after several months, they start gaining weight, their energy level drops, because I think they're not necessarily getting the nutrients that they need. And I have friends of mine, Dr. Joel Kahn, he's a cardiologist, a plant-based cardiologist, one of the nation's leading ones. And he thrives on plant-based, but he's also super intelligent. He's really knows what his micros and macros are. And I think that to do well with that, then that's the ideal situation.
Because it is a meat eater's world, and it's a major change. And, it's major because we've been eating animal protein, whether it's dairy, eggs, or the flesh of an animal, since we were weaned off of mother's milk. It's filling, it's stimulating. It does actually do something. It's calories. It's oftentimes cheaper calories than plant-based lifestyle. And, I say you're not going to have Herculean results the way that you're not going to be as jacked if you go to the gym and you're plant-based. I mean, you could just take on more and more calories, obviously, until you're a farting, machine.
Well, welcome to my world.
Animal protein is just easier. It's why it's just a much easier lifestyle, and the science shows that you could be healthy doing both lifestyles, either or, provided that you eliminate processed food, because that's actually more of the detrimental thing in the modern diet than whether or not we're eating flesh. The flesh thing brings up other issues, right?
I 100% agree with you. I think that's the trap that some plant-based people, I wouldn't even say plant-based, more vegan people get into, is that they start eating all vegan food, but at the same time, they're not eating whole foods, plant-based, right, and monitoring,
they're doing deep fried tofu and crap like that. Let me ask you this last question. I know you reference this in the book, Younger for Life. It's two-parter. One, the four major causes of aging skin, right? You do talk about that. But my question before you get into it, is there a test to look at someone's skin and you go, oh, you're 54, but your skin's of a 48-year-old? How do you know the quality of the skin?
There isn't a definitive test for that. We do have things we have a Visia analysis in my office where they will give you kind of a true skin age, but how true is that really? I think what would be more interesting really is the difference between chronologic and biological age on the inside. And there are a lot of studies or tests that will do that, whether they look at DNA methylation or other types of factors. But yes, we do have these types of things, but they're still pretty rudimentary from a skin health standpoint. But they're interesting, but they are still rudimentary.
You can't use carbon dating or uranium-238 or
maybe after you die, I guess you probably could.
Training.
And what did you say that there are four causes? What are the four main causes that age your skin?
So it's going to be collagen degradation, so loss of collagen. It's going to be oxidation or free radical production. It's going to be chronic inflammation and buildup of cellular waste.
Wow.
Okay, so concise and
we've already covered pretty much all those.
There's nothing else. There's no evil spirits or any longitude or does the magnetic poles of the earth.
By the way, is there an audio book of your book or no?
Yes, it's on audio. It's an ebook. It's basically, you can find it on Amazon. It's at Target stores right now as well. Pretty much wherever you find books.
Most people get Amazon. Where are you based out of?
I'm out of Michigan.
I have to make sure I get an antioxidant serum with vitamin C for my skin and make sure my collagen is hydrolyzing, correct?
You got it.
Good enough.
And we have those at my online store too. I've got my Youn Beauty brand where we sell skincare products and supplements as well.
Will definitely be taking a look. So the book is called Younger for Life. Go ahead. What do you want to ask, Marcus?
I was going to say, I feel like we skipped over exercise. How important is exercise to keeping your skin glowing and fresh and reducing your aging process?
It's actually very important. There are studies that do show that doing exercise can definitely help with the aging of your skin. As far as direct correlations, how does it work? I don't know that I could explain exactly that. I think it's just this general idea of being healthy. I think the other thing that I really talk about a little bit in the book that I find is really interesting is this fallacy that walking is all you have to do as you get older, which is so not true. I think the older people, like the boomers, think that all you have to do is walk a couple miles a day and you're good. But the fact is an exercise like that, you're only working your slow twitch muscle fibers that propel you forward. As you get older, the one thing you really want to avoid is breaking a hip. Okay, and how do you avoid breaking a hip other than having strong bones? And strong bones actually can be helped, but you got to do resistance training, strength training. Because then you're going to actually work your fast twitch muscle fibers. These are those muscle fibers that will stabilize you if you trip on something, versus if all you're doing is walking and you trip, you see these old people that just go straight down, they land on their face because they don't have these reflexes, they haven't been working on them. So strength training, I'm a huge fan of. Yoga, I'm a huge fan of. Hip workouts, all those types of things can really help.
I've been doing so much hip workouts lately because I realized all my lower back issues are really related to tight hip flexors and just not moving my hip.
Yoga
correctly.
Is the other thing is that as you get older, especially in men where we get so stiff, I find that in myself and my friends, doing yoga, really working on your balance and stretching is so key.
Right. So the book is called Younger for Life. You can follow Anthony, not that he needs it, Dr. Youn, at Tony Youn MD on Instagram. Is it the same across the board on TikTok and everything else?
It's Dr. Youn at the other ones. So okay. Dr. Youn.
Spelled out doctor, not DR.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, Jesus Christ, millions of followers. Congratulations. I'm going to get the audiobook, and I'm going to buy that serum from your website because I feel I need it. I definitely do. Mark, is there anything you want to plug before I do my
I just
plugs?
think I'm so happy that you have success on social media because you're putting a good message out there, and continued success. When you get an empire and you have your own podcast, could you maybe invite us one time?
Sure.
Remember the little guys at the bottom,
Well, I appreciate you spreading the word, and thanks so much, guys. It was fun hanging out with you.
Thank you so much. My other podcast is called the SDR Show, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll Show. It comes out twice a week. Make sure you check that out, usually in the top 200 of iTunes in comedy. And Goodsugar, the store, is on the corner of 3rd Avenue and 69th Street. Giant yellow sign. You can't miss it. Go in, get a vegan meal. No single-use plastic, low carbon footprint. Feel good about yourself and the environment while you eat at Goodsugar. Dr. Youn, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see everyone next time on the Goodsugar Podcast.